comment. We are going to next presenter, Mr. Munaem Khan. He is a lecturer at the Faculty of Law, Eastern University, Dhaka. He is a graduate with LLB honors and LLM from the University of Dhaka as well. He is particularly interested in research in the historical aspects of and development of Islamic law. But today's particular the paper is particularly on a different issue. Of course, there's unholy apartheid, the Dalits, the civil rights, and access to public place in Bangladesh. So may I invite Mr. Khan to present his paper. Thanks.
Honorable Session Chair, distinguished legal luminaries of Bangladesh who are working abroad and within the country, and esteemed presenters. Today, I am going to present on an issue, which is the plight of the Dalits, who are regularly or at times, occasionally, they are denied access to public places in Bangladesh, particularly in South Asian regions. And speaking on this particular issue, I have a very personal connection to me. It was really sparked in me on a particular occasion when I, along with my friends, visited in a Horizon Polli in Bogora, when a Dalit Horizon young man was forced out of a hotel, and his hands were one of his hands were burnt with boiling oil, and it made into the national dailies, national news and electric medias, and the National Human Rights Commissions to look into the matter, and it was created really an uproar. And we went there to meet them, to sit with them, and even we ate a meal with them. And it was a program we organized with them at Bela Ahar, kind of, to show that they are not really untouchable. And in my paper, I will argue that untouchability is a mindset which has turned into a psychosocial phenomenon, though it has deep roots in historical factors, particularly Hindu religions. And in my paper, I will try to show why the state-centric top-down approach failed to develop their conditions, and particularly to ensure their access to public places in Bangladesh and in other South Asian regions. So it is well known that Dalits are untouchable, and it is within the Hindu caste system, which was described by Venerable Ambedkar as graded inequality. They have no caste within the four caste systems, and they are regularly denied access to public places, and they are really excluded from public places. And my aim is to develop a bottom-up approach for human rights implementation for Dalits. And to begin with, I chose a quote from B.R. Ambedkar, who said that rights are protected not by law, but by the social and moral conscience of society. And basically, my presentation will echo his sayings, actually. So my presentation will be divided into 4 parts. First, I would like to show a brief sketch of the legal frameworks in South Asia, particularly where the Dalits are sizable minority. And definitely India will be the first one, where the Dalits constitute more than 200 million minority, and subsequently followed by Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. And secondly,
Munaem Khan, may I request you to focus on the concept of Dalit and the related legal provisions presently prevailing. Then you go to your what is called your suggestion. I think that way you can save some time, and the audience will be interested as well.
Particularly, the topic is relevant for Bangladesh because Bangladesh is moving forward to pass an anti-discrimination bill, which has been laid down before the parliament in 2022, and which is yet to be passed, and where access to public place for Dalits is really aspire to ensure. And my research is basically laid down in that framework. And secondly, I will try to show why the state-centric approach failed and why we should take an approach which is a bottom-up approach. I would like to call, or human rights approach from below, and relying on this bottom-up approach, I would like to sketch a tripartite approach for ensuring Dalits, where Dalits will have easily access into public places. To begin with, some
Munaem Khan, who are Dalits in fact? Can you please define who are Dalits?
Yes, sir. I'll move now to this issue. Dalits are basically the outcasts in Hindu religion who have no castes within the four caste system. The Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, they are the really caste Hindus, and the Dalits are outcasts who do the really socially less expected jobs or less demanding jobs like scavenging or cleaning or like other jobs, cleaning shoes, similar jobs. So there was a huge debate between B.R. Ambedkar and Mohandas Gandhi. Ambedkar was rebellious in kind of nature, who advocated for annihilation of caste system, who said that the conditions of the cannot be improved without annihilation of castes. But Mohandas Gandhi, or Gandhiji, said that Dalits can be included within the four caste system in the Hindu system. But we see when the India got independent, the state actually taken a different approach. They didn't move for any religious reform. Rather, they relied on state as an arbiter and law for as social engineering mechanism, and relied on law to improve their conditions. And human rights discourse, which has roots in the French Revolution, and also, as we all know, it was taken as a liberator ideology. Please allow me seconds to chat.
To be very specific, what is the present problem they have under law?
So, yes, a top-down approach from the state using the human rights discourse was used to develop their plans. And a three-pronged approach, legal approach was taken in India, which is constitutional to ensure the civil rights, like the civil rights issues for blacks in the Western Hemisphere. And a civil rights approach was taken to ensure untouchability, to ensure that untouchability is not practiced and Dalits are free from untouchability practices. And when the Indian states saw that the civil rights approach and the civilian remedy approach failed, they took a criminal rights approach to ensure criminal remedies, to ensure punishments for the atrocities committed against Dalits, and there were heinous types of atrocities committed against them, to ensure that they remain below the purity line, which some scholars call the purity line, that as they are untouchable, and touching them will make the Borno Hindus impure, actually. In Pakistan and Sri Lanka, we also see the similar provisions in their constitutions in Article 12 and some similar articles in Sri Lanka in Article 26. And we see in Nepal a most robust framework in their constitution. And particularly, their compensations are available for practicing untouchability against Dalits.
What is the Bangladeshi condition, Bangladeshi position of the law?
We don't have any particular provisions regarding them in our constitution. We have general provisions in Article 27, 28, and 29 of our constitution, where equality and non-discrimination is ensured.
Now, what are your suggestions to improve their condition?
My suggestions is that untouchability is a peculiar phenomenon, and it has become a psychosocial phenomenon, and it has been transcended into other peoples from other religions, like Muslims, Christians, and similar people. And even though the issue is has religious roots, but Dalits cannot escape the practices of untouchability, even if they convert into other religions, because it is a psychosocial phenomenon. And for this, as people are considering them as untouchable, the rights enshrined in legal structure, legal framework, is being able to do very little to them, as if there is an invisible apartheid between them and their rights. They cannot touch. They have rights. They even can't enter into the courts where they will be able to enforce their rights. There is an invisible apartheid actually, which hinders them from moving to courts even. And I delineate here 5 reasons why untouchability is a psychosocial phenomenon.
I mean, what is your suggestion? That's not clear.
So
How to improve their condition legally speaking?
yes, I'm moving to that part right now. So what I advocate for here is human rights norms from below, and particularly I put my suggestions here between the universalism and the relativity of human rights concepts, and I will try to show that here human rights concepts are enforced as an universalistic idea, but it helps very little to them. And it showed us the state and law has limits in social engineering. Sometimes they fail to achieve the goals actually. And here, Islamic discourse in the context of Bangladesh, Islamic religious discourse and the Islamic religious leaders can help us to improve their, and engaging them can improve the situation of Dalits and can ensure the access to
And
public places.
even secular human rights approach also can improve the condition, isn't it? If they are treated as human beings, then should
Yes,
not
sir.
be untouchable, right? So we can think of that perspective as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, their improvement of their condition from international human rights perspective. So can you please wrap up in few words?
So I was saying that I have 15 minutes, so I sketched up which will conclude in 15 minutes. I have just finished 7 or 8 minutes. 10 minutes.
Go ahead.
I will conclude in 2 minutes.
Okay, please.
Okay. So here, human rights implementation in Muslim contexts, particularly, renowned professors like Professor Fadel and Abdul Ahmad Naim, and professors like Ahmad Al-Dawdi, they advocates that in Muslim context, if we rely on Islamic normativity or Islamic religious discourse, we will be more successful to enforce human rights. And if we rely on those these discourses, then people will feel more credible the discourses. At times, secular human rights discourses are seen with some skepticism from the popular masses, particularly the religious leaders who command a significant amount of leverage over the popular masses. So that's why I rely on a particular approach from Professor Adnan Zulfikar, who advocated for a particular approach, which he calls enculturation. That means exposing the human rights issues from the society itself by using the local normativity, localization normativity, and using legal terminologies available in that particular locality, and using the local religious or the local leaders, local agents, who the people will believe them as somebody from among themselves. And I argue that ulama in Muslim context in Bangladesh, maybe those local agents who the people will believe. Particularly, people believe them for their afterlife. Maybe they will believe them for this life if they disseminate the issues that untouchables are not, the practices in untouchability are not in any kind of Islamic, or Islam doesn't have any practices like untouchability. And if they disseminate that the ayats and hadiths of the Quran and Sunnah to the people that we should not practice untouchability, then we will be more successful in ensuring their access to public places. And this particular point, we can rely on OIC Declaration on Human Rights for enculturation of human rights in Muslim context, which particularly help us in particular issues. The OIC declaration can be an Islamic religious discourse, and it has Islamic terminologies like the equality among human beings, treating all the humans as members of human family, and bridging the gaps between ethnic lines and religious lines in some contexts can help us. And Muslim clerics can play a very significant role, and they should have a role in this particular context. And as it is a psychosocial phenomenon, the law and state alone cannot accomplish this uphill task. The religious and the local social leaders must be engaged to free the people from their untouchable mindset, as untouchability is a mindset. As the Indian experience has shown us that 75 or more years of legal framework, particularly the robust legal framework, have failed significantly. And it has been documented by human rights organizations like Human Rights Watch and other organizations who say that Dalits' conditions have improved very little, despite having a robust framework. And some scholars like Smith and Narula, who has done extensive research on the Dalits' conditions in India and South Asian regions, has said that Dalits are untouchable, equal by law, but unequal by caste. And that inequality emanating from caste reigns over the Indian legal system. It's kind of superstructure, legal superstructure above the legal system of India, which reigns in the minds of the people, and which ultimately defeats the purpose. And that's why, and is similarly, and as we all know, generally, Islam has a duty-based approach. Perhaps human rights, where human rights fail, human duties may succeed in achieving the goal of ensuring access to Dalits in the public places. And that's what I wanted to argue. And
All
my
right.
recommendation is that the three-parted approach should be taken for this approach. First, that we should recognize that state and law will be proved to be insufficient to address this issue, and that's why we should engage Islamic discourses and Muslim clerics in this issue. And it is a very good sign that actually the law also, the anti-discrimination bill also will propose to engage religious leaders from societies who will be nominated by the Ministry of Religion in Bangladesh. So that's a good sign. So I wanted to show how the discourse, how the Muslim clerics can use Islamic tradition and Islamic law and the Quran and Sunnah narratives to disseminate knowledge among Muslim people, Muslim majority people in Bangladesh, so that they are assured that the practicing untouchability is not something holy in Islam. It may be holy in Hindu religion to some, but in Islam it is unholy. And segregating them from the mainstream society is unholy, and it is an unholy apartheid. That is what I wanted to argue. But it will not be suffice. We must resort to courts, and we should ensure access to justice in cases that face any kind of discrimination or atrocities. It must be treated as a criminal remedy, as it is a social crime, and at the same time they must have compensation. Victims must be awarded compensations. That is why I wanted to argue in this presentation. Thank you for your time. Sir, unmute করতে হবে।
Thank you so much for your insightful views. Any questions or comment on the paper, please? If I can ask you a question, this Dalit issue being a religious issue of Hindu religion, why are you proposing Islamic solution to the problem?
So there are researches in recent days that even Muslim societies practice untouchability, or they consider them untouchable. In India, we have researches that even converted Dalits are treated as second-class Muslim.
Oh, okay.
May I say something?
Sir, please, by all means, sir.
Professor Anwar Jahid.
Sir, by all means, please, sir. Please.
Thank you. You see, the Dalit issue itself is now transnational issue. It is South Asian phenomena, taking South Asia as a broader perspective.
Oh,
It's
alarming.
They are sometimes called, I think, scheduled caste or Dalit or non-scheduled caste, so many different names. Then Gandhi called them children of God. But then already 200 years of this modern era hardly could provide any, not only human rights, very rudimentary form of human rights. For example, in India, they cannot even decide what type of religion or what type of prayers they would like to perform. And this is very unfortunate. Now, the presenter, though apparently seems to be still at his primary stage of research, but he is trying to, what I understood, he is pursuing us that we need three different types of solution. One is legal, another is socio-political, and another must be the religious approach. Without that combined efforts, only from one direction, making some laws would not help much. On the other hand, keeping the caste system, Dalit system in place also will not help much, because the thorough research of Amartya Sen shows that just legal approach or even economic approach cannot help much until you can break the stigma or taboo of ancient hierarchy among the human beings, which are in many cases inhuman, to say the least. So this is a very good area of research, but I don't know, please forgive me, my dear presenter. I think you need to study more, be more methodical, and also to follow the dialectics of research, how you make the thesis to an antithesis, and then how you reach to the synthesis. Because it appears to me it is very difficult to find out good synthesis in your research. So please forgive me and go ahead with your very good area of study. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think the presenter would be very much benefited by your insightful comments. And you should take note of the comments, Munaem Khan, and you can go further with your work. Maybe it can be a PhD research. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you.